Good morning. I'm joined at the Coachologist headquarters today with Haleema Hussain. Welcome, Haleema.
Thank you, John.
This is our second episode of the top of the series, and over the past 12 months, I've had the pleasure of working with Haleema and her team. I would say confidently that she is one of the hardest working and most disciplined recruiters I've ever partnered with, and she brings a relentless drive, sharp commercial instincts, and a level of professionalism that sets the bar for others in the industry. Welcome.
That's very kind of you to say. Really excited to be here.
Great, lovely. We're also joined with a number of recruiters who have come down to the headquarters here to listen in and ask questions later on. Haleema works for Raw Selection, based in Leeds, and has 6 years experience in the industry. Now, last year, you built 273,000, and this year you're on track to do 350,000. What was your light bulb moment when you thought, I can do this?
I think that came when there was a time where I got 4 retainers on at once, and it was the first retainers that I got, which was solely by myself. And before, I had a lot of support from Alex Rawlings and the team, and then they were the first ones that I did that myself. And I remember thinking at the time, well, if you can do this now, and you get 4 at the same time, then I can definitely do this again. And that was definitely a moment for me, which helped build my confidence.
Yeah, I bet. What's the biggest deal you've done to date?
It was a deal that I did last year, and that was 137,200 and something. I always forget the 200 something, but
irrelevant. The other numbers are better.
But it was 137,000.
Okay, walk me through what that was and how you went about it.
That was an operating partner deal, and it was a replacement role for somebody who would focus on HR within the firm and across the portfolio. It was somebody who I had already spoken to previously. I'd had a good relationship with them, and then when the need arose, they reached out to me.
Okay, right. If you could go back to day one, what would you tell your rookie self?
I tell myself to work harder. I would probably have picked up a sales book a lot earlier than I ever did. Go find Alex Rawlings and join Raw Selection earlier.
Okay.
And do some training with you.
Okay, earlier. Great.
Yeah, exactly.
Win-win. Can you walk me through a typical day?
So with us working in US market, it means that most of our calls and meetings with clients and candidates are all later in the day, which some of my mornings tend to be a bit more free. And what I do is I'll come in first thing and I do a morning meeting with my team where we talk about what their top 3 accomplishments were from the previous day and then what their top priorities are for today. Then we go straight into training where I'll do individual role plays and dependent on whatever the constraint that person is currently facing. Plus that, it's all admin work. I get my target emails done, I get my LinkedIn BD done, and then from 1 o'clock is when I tend to get calls because that's when the US market opens.
You mentioned about your team. Did you always want to be a manager?
Funnily enough, I didn't want to be a manager. I was actually adamant and would always tell him, no, that's not something that I wanted to go down that route. And I think the reason for that was because I just genuinely enjoy the day-to-days within recruitment and all the conversations you can have. I didn't want to ever take away from that. And I think I was just insecure about my ability to manage a team well and also bill well. I thought that would be pretty tough.
Juggle process. What's your leadership style?
My leadership style varies with each person that we have. When someone first joins Raw Selection, we do a learning test to find out the best way and what works well for them. Then what I do is I'll adopt a different approach for each person. So for one person, they learn better if I'm able to use an example and I talk them through it. There's another person in my team whose learning style is a reflector. So before they're about to learn something new, I tend to tell them the day before, this is what we're going to go through, and I'll share some materials with them too. So it gives them time to learn. And then I think the only common theme is that I believe in no nonsense. I'm always honest with my team, and that's, I think, it's really important.
How do you foster a culture of accountability and performance in your team?
I think it starts even before they join Raw Selection. And for me, what I always do is at the interview process, sharing very clear and with them exactly what their expectations we'll share with them what our standards are, and then give them a clear understanding of what my expectations are, so that when they come in, they know what work would be like. And then I think it's all about leading by example. I'll never ask somebody else to do something or set them a KPI that I'm not willing to do myself or I haven't already done. And I think that builds a lot of credibility and accountability, because it's not just them doing it, it's we're all doing it together and we all have a common goal.
Okay. What's your approach when somebody isn't doing something that you've tasked them to do?
For that, it's usually one of two reasons, and I always try to find out the why first, understanding why is somebody not doing this. And this is a lot of work that we've done together, Josh, on understanding whether it's a will issue and that they don't want to do it, or if it's a skill issue. And I find the skill issues always a lot easier to work with, because there's a reason. There's a reason maybe they've not done it before, and is the person even aware that that's what they need to do? So it's just making sure, again, going back to clear expectations for what somebody needs to do, and if they're not doing it, understanding why.
Yeah, because how do you feel about having those difficult conversations?
I think it's the one part of my role that I don't enjoy, and I don't think anybody sits in and thinks, oh, well, today I want to have a difficult conversation with you. And if anybody shares with you that they enjoy the conversations,
there's a few.
They're lying. They're probably a psychopath.
Yeah.
But they need to happen, and I see it as it's my duty to, if somebody's not doing something that's right, or they're doing something that could potentially become a bigger problem, I have to share that with them. And it doesn't have to be even in a management setting. Think about it when anytime friend, partner, whoever it may be, someone's done something that's wrong, or somebody's done something that's not how you'd like it. Anytime you've ever found that anytime you don't say it and you stay quiet, it just tends to build up and it becomes a bigger problem. True. And that's your fault, because you've not shared it with them. So whilst I don't enjoy having difficult conversations, I feel it's my duty to the team to be able to sit down with them and have them and share it. And I tend to get a positive response.
Good. How do you handle rejection, and what's your bounce back strategy?
In recruitment, it's so important to have resilience. And I think there's a time where I look at what my resilience was like when I first started, and handling rejection was a lot harder than what it is now, because you've just dealt with so many different experiences, so it makes it a bit easier. I think to anyone in recruitment, it's just not taking it personally. It's fine if the client doesn't want to work with you. It's fine if that candidate doesn't either. Go out and find a new one, because there's always other people that will work with you. And taking a step back and looking at, okay, well, what did I do that could be improved? And I know some of the sessions that we've had and that you've had with the team, Josh, where you can go back and listen to calls and analyse, well, what could be done better? Taking the learnings from it, you have to beat yourself up and then just applying that to the next thing. But just try not to take it personal.
How do you keep your team motivated?
What we do, what's so important, and what Alex has brought in here, and it's across every team, is everybody having very good goals and strong goals. And we have them, we even have plaques on our desks around what it is that we're looking to achieve, and they're not just small goals, they're the big goals. It's what really excites something and gets you out of bed each morning. I think what we do really well is that we align the goals with what they're doing. So everybody has big goals, what they want to achieve, and because of that, we just keep that in mind. And even if you got, so let's say that someone's going through a hard time, even if you got that one deal across the line, is that going to get you to your goal? Yes, you get you a bit closer, but there could always be another one the next day, and it's just about keeping their mindset strong.
And the momentum, Okay. How do you avoid burnout in such a high pressured role?
I actually don't think burnout's real.
Okay.
I think it comes from when you do something consistently and for a prolonged period of time that you don't actually enjoy. I've never watched a podcast on somebody who's been successful. I've never spoken to somebody who's been very successful and they've shared about being burnt out. I think that there's days that people can become tired, but it's all about finding the role that in a business that you are passionate about. And once you've found that, I think it allows you to be obsessed with being better and improving. It allows you to be obsessed with working. And don't get me wrong, there's days where I think people get tired. I certainly can, and it's just acknowledging that I love my spa days, I have my shopping trips, so I get
So
them
keeps you
in.
going, it's balance.
The balance between that and getting them in.
Okay. What is one book that you would recommend that every recruiter reads?
That would be Winning by Tim Grover. It's all a mindset, and he was the coach to Michael Jordan. And what I think is really good about the book is that he personifies winning. It gives you a framework to help build your mindset and a winning mindset, and then also helps you tackle some challenges.
So, final question from me before we open up to the audience. What advice would you give someone who's just started in recruitment?
The advice I'd give is recruitment is so rewarding. It's such a great industry to be in. You can build the resilience and you can tackle the challenges to begin with. Recruitment always rewards hard work and it always pays off.
Thanks very much for that, Haleema. I'll now open up the questions to our audience.
Yeah, I've got a question for you, Haleema. You clearly have a very disciplined mindset. So I would love to understand, is this just your personality? Have you always had this? Or was it when you came to role selection, sort of realized the potential you could achieve and that set the switch in your head?
I definitely didn't have this mindset, and that was unlocked when I joined role selection. I did this, I read a lot of Tony Robbins books, and it's all about what are your limiting beliefs. It talks a lot about mindset and how you can tackle things that you think that you can't achieve. I also did a Tony Robbins course as well, and I think that helped. And now I have this process where anytime I think, well, this is hard, anytime I think maybe I might not be able to do this, I identify it and then break it down. And a lot of work from Alex Rawlings, and he's very big on mindset.
Just to follow up on that, is how do you deal with self-doubt, especially when you're new in the game?
Self-doubt when you're new in the game, I think it's easier. I think that's pretty hard because the first thing you want is, I want to do a deal, and a lot of confidence comes once you've done your first placement. But what I would look at is take each day as it comes and acknowledge the little wins, reflecting on what you've done that you're able to do at the end of the week that you couldn't do at the start, or what you were able to do now a month or 2 months into recruitment. Shows you so much progress that you've had, and I think that can help build confidence rather than looking at purely, have I done a placement or not 2 weeks into recruitment.
What was your proudest achievement in recruitment so far?
It's 2, and the first one was definitely the largest deal that I've done. I remember that there was a time where I thought I would never do a deal over 100,000, and the fact that I was able to do that was something I was pretty proud of. And then the other one was where, for the first deal that I'd done with somebody else, and I brought somebody else onto that and mentored them, and we did that deal together. I remember that being something I was proud of, because it wasn't just about me, and it was about how I'd worked with somebody else and supported them with getting more revenue.
When you were struggling the most, how did you rejuvenate yourself?
It's taking a step back and thinking, well, why am I struggling? And rather than focusing on this is a problem, looking at why it's a problem, I always find creating a plan, having a structure of, well, how am I going to get out of this? What can I try now to fix this? Going out and seeking answers to improve, rather than it being, well, this is a problem. I'm a big believer in, if you have the right mindset when it comes and put in the work in order to improve, then with the right training, you can improve anything.
What do you believe is the number one factor getting retainers done?
I don't think that there's one factor that gets you the retainer signed. I think it's a combination of doing multiple things and doing them well. And I would say that that's, first of all, finding a client or a prospect who does have, and Josh will love this, but has all the pain and problems that they need to work with you. They have to work with you for a reason. If it's somebody who already has access to great talent, they're not struggling, there's no urgency there, then that's probably not going to be a retainer for you. So it's about identifying, qualifying jobs right to begin with. And I see a lot of recruiters, myself included, have done this many times, where they try and pitch a retainer too early, and it's just not the right time, and there's not enough pain or qualification that's been done beforehand. And it goes back to, again, the mindset. I think if you go into a call thinking, well, I've never won a retainer before, I'm never going to get a retainer, you're probably going to fall flat somewhere. It's about showing that client, showing the prospect that you care about them, you actually want to do a good job. And if you have if your service is, when you truly believe your service is the best service out there, then there's no reason as to why they wouldn't want to work with you.
What are your top 3 favorite avenues for personal development?
That's changed a lot depending on what my biggest challenge is at the time, but there's a lot of work that I look at is some of the mindset stuff. There's, as mentioned, the Tim Grover book on winning. I also bought a course by Tim Grover. The other stuff that I work on for mindset is the Tony Robbins books. When it comes to sales, it's a lot of Jordan Belfort. Whether you agree with his ethics or not, he's very good at selling, and he's all about showing the prospects and your clients that you care about them, and that's a big takeaway.
How long does it take you to feel comfortable working in the private equity world? Obviously, very high profile, high powered world. How quickly you feel comfortable operating in that world?
I don't know how long it took me to feel comfortable working in private equity. What I do remember early on is if I didn't understand something, I always ask the questions, get as much information as we can from people, and I was genuinely interested in learning about the industry, and I think that showed. And if I was an expert in private equity, and then I would have been a private equity professional. So acknowledging that, and I never shied away from it. I shared with them that I was new to the industry, and people always want to help others. So I found it very easy to understand the different terminology. I did a lot of research about it before joining. I find that you get the best experience from actually communicating with people.
So what do you think you need to change or improve about yourself to get to that 500k or £1 million?
I think for me, what I need to do more of is bringing in deals that are larger than the 137,000. As I break that and bring more business in, I think that will see me move to 500,000 and just more repeat business at that level.
Because your deal sizes are so large, how do you deal with those kinds of things going wrong at the last stage? How do you bounce back from that kind of loss of pipeline with deal sizes so big?
That was really tough to begin with, because you could go from, I remember there being a deal that had at final stages that would have been 240,000. And I remember at the time being so excited about that. And when that didn't come off, again, it's all about mindset, and it's a tough one, but it's about actually acknowledging what you have done. And if you've got a deal of that size all the way to that level, that's something in itself to be proud of. And then why didn't it come off? What could you improve so you can implement that to the next one, so you've got more of a chance of a deal like that coming up?
Thank you for all the questions, everybody. And Haleema, thank you for being our second guest on the Top Billers series. We will be back next Thursday, 8:30, with our third guest. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me again.
My pleasure. Thank you.